Hi, Zen Paddling team. It's Gary here. It's great to be with you. In these short videos, I'm going to show you some of the exercises I've developed during lockdown, and I've also used quite a lot of them before lockdown, before the pandemic even started. And the first one will be a run through of the equipment that I use. Some of it is household, some of it is proper gym equipment, some things like this old thumbstick, or you can use a broom handle, and I'll gradually show you how I use them. We'll do that in the beginning of this video, but then I'll show you what my every morning workup is, my warm-up, and that will be the first video. And the warm-up is designed specifically for activating the core and the shoulders and the thighs, all those big muscles that we need for paddling. Okay, so I'll introduce you to some equipment. The first thing is, this is my late father-in-law's thumbstick. It's used for walking uphill, but it's really light, and it's about the right length, as you'll see, for a paddle. Imagine there were blades stuck to the end of it. And the first thing I do is I stand with my feet shoulder width apart and place it over my shoulders and have my arms, roughly speaking, at the end of the paddle shaft. You can see them at the end. And all I'm going to do is rotate one way, then the next way. So this exercise is just to warm up the muscles, pretty much the whole of our body. Now I start off with my legs straight, and it makes me rotate more at the shoulders than the hips. And I'll do that about 100 times, counting them off in my head. So you need somewhere quiet. I tend to get very easily distracted from my counting. So I have no idea how many I've done at the moment. It's probably about 20. But then I can change things up a little bit. I can just introduce a slight bend in my knees and bring my hips into it. So my hips are now doing the work. And do 100 of those. Doesn't take long, about a minute. You can speed up, you can put more effort in, you can go back onto your heels, you can go over your toes, and then back into the middle again. You can also change the emphasis. So remember, I've always said kayaking is a pushing sport. So we can, in our mind's eye, think about pushing our right hip and our right shoulder across together. And then concentrate on the left hip and the left shoulder together. And then both shoulders and hips coming across towards the opposite side. And then, just to break with tradition, you can move your mind's eye to pulling on the right hip and right shoulder. So I'm thinking of pulling them backwards, which makes us rotate a little bit further. And then I'll do it with the left. So it's my left hip, left shoulder. And I might do these exercises 500. Some days when I'm doing a HIIT session like today, it'll be 1,000, counted off in hundreds. It gets the heart going, gets the blood pumping, your calves are working, your toes are digging into the carpet to stop you slipping, and you really get warmed up very quickly and very nicely. So I'll be doing that again later when I do my full session. So that's broomstick. It's got no weight. However, when I'm doing a HIIT session and later in the session, when I've got my shoulders warmed up, I've done my squats, I've done stretching and so on, that's when you might introduce a weight bar. Now this is a 7 kilo bar. For smaller men and for generally for women, you might buy a 2 or 3 kilo bar. It's just to give an extra little bit of whip because it means you have to then decelerate. So if I go push on the right, on my right hip and right shoulder, I'm going to have to absorb that acceleration by contracting the muscles of the left, and then use that to come forwards. So that adds some extra interesting things to have to do around the core, around the hips. Not so much around the shoulders, but around the hips. So I've got a 7 kilo bar, which I can also use for straight arm lifts. I can lift it above my head, I can do them behind my head, in front of my head. I can do bicep curls with it. So it's very, well, I can also do tricep lifts. I've got a 10 kilo bar. So again, on days when I am doing a HIIT session, I'll end up doing 50 to 100 in reps of 20 bicep curls with a 10 kilo bar. That's about as big, I think, as you might be able to get a 12 kilo. But you can get hand weights, kettlebells, if you really wanted to go into it. What else do I have? I have one of these rollers. It's not hard, it's not soft. And I use that for stretching around. And in another video, you'll see how that works. Because it's really important, having done these contraction type exercises that we'll do in other videos, you also do stretching and load under stretch, dynamic stretching. I've got a range of resistance bands. These are circular ones. You can get ones that are just like a long rubber band. They come in different resistances. Green is the lowest, and I think the black is, or red is, the highest. And we can use those for all sorts of different things. You'll see me in another video using them for triceps exercises and rotator cuff. You can also do it straight arm. You can use them for bicep curls. Put it under your foot and lift. What else have we got? Now, for squats, you can do squats in many different ways. Now, I've got some support straps. Now, I've got bad knees. I always have had bad knees since I was a kid. But depending upon the type of squat you do, and I'll show you some in a short while, you'll need to tie them in different places above or below your knee, just to give you a bit of extra support until the thigh muscles and your hamstrings really get strong. Otherwise you can get very sore knees. So those are very useful. Swiss ball for doing side lifts with your body, and also back lifts. And sometimes you can, if you can anchor your feet, you can do sit-ups against it. It's also a great tool just for sitting on, watching the television, with your feet off the floor and practicing that little wobble thing that you get in a nice wobbly boat. You can also invest in all sorts of bits of equipment. This one is for doing ab crunches. You sit down, you put it across your knees, and then you tighten down. And it has different resistance rubber bands inside. That's really good for getting strong abs. So that's, except for the floor and me, that's pretty much the equipment I have invested in. And I reckon in all it's about £100 for everything, maybe 120. But if you look around the house, you can find things that are weights. You know, when I get a big bag of cat litter for our cats, I use it for biceps curls. I use it for adding weight for squats. Just find things in the house that you can use. So, we've seen the rotations one way, like this. Your arms will get tired hanging like this. And yet, what you also want to make sure is you've got sufficient rotation in your arms, both sides. when we're paddling, often, particularly men, can end up with frozen shoulders. So this is something you may have seen me do by the water before I get in the boat. And if we've got enough space, I'll show you. So it's basically one arm is going backwards and the other one goes forwards. So it's backwards, forwards, but holding maybe a paddle, as long as you've got plenty of space. So it goes something like this. Make sure I don't smack my hand. So I'm going to go back over my head and then bring the other one over. So it's back, over, back, over, back, over, back, over. And yes, you will feel really weird to start with, and don't push it until your shoulders are clicking. Make sure you're within the free range of movement at first. Just doing that exercise will increase it over weeks. And then of course you've got to do it the other way, which is the other arm back and over, back and over, back. And if you can get your shoulders in there, it becomes easier and easier. Now I'm working my left shoulder, although it might look like my right in the recording, I don't know. And my left shoulder has bone spurs. Yeah, I'm a wreck. And it takes a while for me to overcome the slight discomfort. And then it begins to settle. So that's one great one for getting your shoulders nice and loose, ready for more exercise. So I've done that on the shoulders rotation, and I've done the arm rotation. Now I'm going to make it more like it really is in paddling, which is with my arms out in front of me and my legs slightly bent, and then I start doing more energetic twists, trying to stretch out my back here, and doing it dynamically rather than just stretching. So, and I've got to use my legs to brace, otherwise I'll throw myself off the floor. So I'm bracing with my legs, knees slightly bent, and hips and shoulders pushing forwards, just like you would in the boat. Okay, I'm just going to adjust the pitch so you can see a bit lower. So you can see my feet now. Okay. I'm going to put on my knee supports. And I'm going to do it above my knee, because I'm going to do some quite deep squats, but not full squats. I've discovered that this is a great exercise for getting blood flow. So, feet shoulder width apart, knees bent to start with, hands across the chest maybe, so you're not tempted to go forwards. We're going to try and stay on our heels, not go onto our tippy toes yet. So we're going to go onto our heels, and then we're going to drop until our thighs are parallel pretty much with the floor. And then we're going to tighten our pelvic floor, tighten our butt muscles, and then bounce. So you're bouncing down and pushing up a little bit. So this is not a full squat. And you keep going, and I usually get to about 100 of these before my thighs are burning. Now the great thing about this squat is you can do it even if your knees aren't great, and you're exercising in making the muscle, the thigh muscles, your quads, work when they're extended. That is the place where you get maximum muscle power growth, when you're exercising a lengthened muscle. Whew, that was about 50, I think. Relax. I adjust my straps to go below the knee, because we're going to do a slightly different squat. So this time we're going to go the full length, from standing almost to reasonably low, not ultra low, reasonably low. And what it will do is exercise more of the top end of the quads, but we still need to keep the glutes tight. That's what gives you stability in the boat, and it stops you getting lower back pain. Having these upper parts of your quads strong. Okay, take a breath. Hands across the chest, stick your bum out and down. And we want to be, I'll do it sideways if I can, we want to be as vertical as we can, over our heels, bum out, and going as much down as we can. That's the deep squat. Now the next one, I keep my straps on below the knee, is to go against what I've just said, and that is intentionally go on your toes. So hopefully you can see my toes. This time I'm going to go down into a squat, deep, hold it there like we did with the first bouncy ones, but I'm intentionally going to put my weight over my toes. And this means it exercises again this part of your thigh muscles just above your knees. That's where you should feel it. You'll also feel it like mad in your bum. Okay, so I'm over my toes, I'm on my tippy toes, my calves are working, and then I start just to go up and down that much. I want the muscles to be under tension all the time. I've not come off my toes at all. And then rest. Now you might find, as I am now, this lower back is feeling a little bit tight, as is my glute. So now it's about a stretch. This will be the end of the video, and it's just relax and lengthen. So I'll show you this way. We need a good tensed but not kind of lower abs, and then from there keeping them tight, keeping the legs straight. If you get any pain, you stop and you just relax forwards, back straight, and then just flop. And I'm trying to stretch all the way from my Achilles tendon all the way to the back of my head. Now, I'm quite mobile, always have been, and I can start to pull on the back of my legs gently, just to give it a bit more stretch, a bit more. And gently pull as you exhale. And I imagine the muscles and the tendons softening as I exhale. After a while, you'll be able to put your hands flat on the floor with your elbows bent and not feel any discomfort, but that could take weeks. You might do a little very, very gentle bounce. then come up exactly the same way. Tense tummy. If you need to bend your legs as you come up, bend them. Do not exert so much stretch that you hurt your lower back. And that is my warm-up. So when do I do my warm-up? I do it every morning. Sometimes it's just the warm-up. So my routine will be, one day is a warm-up. The next day I'll do cardio. So I might do, instead of doing 200 or 300 of these, I might do 1,000. Instead of doing 20 of each of those types of squats, I might do 50 or 100 in 20s. So I'm getting my heart rate up. Then the next day I do a HIIT session, which will include using the weighted bars, etc. It might be using this ab press. It might be using the Swiss ball and other odds and ends I've got around the house. The next day all I do is walk and stretch. And I'll show you all the stretches I do. Some will be very similar to those that Charlie has been doing in her Pilates class. Some that I've developed myself because of my own peculiarities and tension that I get around my core. Some of them you'll love, some of them you'll hate. But maybe the ones you hate are the ones you should love. So that's it for video 1. I hope you enjoy it. Play around with that for 7 days. I will do another video probably in 3 or 4 days time. I'm going to put a YouTube channel together, mostly for this group. But if you want to have people invited to the private link, let me know. We can add them to the Zen WhatsApp group and to give them the password into the YouTube channel. I'm not going to make it public. I just don't want that level of hassle. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good paddling. Stay safe. Exercise every day. I know most of you do. But remember this. Although we all want to paddle, paddling on its own will not keep your body lithe and fit and strong. It needs all the other kinds of exercise around it, because our muscles will shorten, our tendons shorten. That's when you get the lower back pain, that's when you start to get the shoulder pain, and that's when your technique falls apart. And as you know, the Zen Paddling group is all about sensing what's happening in your body. So while you're doing the exercises, you're not in competition with anyone else. You're not even in competition with yourself. All you're trying to do is sense when you feel you've pushed your body that bit further. It will respond by increasing strength and endurance. And that's what we're after. So see you in the next video, and hopefully see you on the water very soon.